to come and find you at your office.
You were, I know, and I was gonna say, I bet you they're in a hurry to get out of here.
You were.
That's right, we can find you.
That's right.
So the same format as before,
Okay.
we have 20 minutes and you have 3 minutes for the opening and 2 minutes to close, so whenever you're ready.
Great, thank you. Well, I'm Sharon Serra, as you all have met me before. I'm the Director of Central Staff here at the court. I've been the director for 3 years and been with the court for 15 years now. I think that I fit the position of a judge here at the court based on my unique experience in the judiciary for the last 20 years. I've been an arm of the court for the 20 years that I've been in practicing the law. So I've been part of the impartial tribunal decision, both at the circuit court level and at the appellate level. And I've also worked on every type of case that you can imagine with regards to the circuit court as well as the appellate court. So all of the appellate filings that come in here, I've worked on every type of case. As a director of our central staff, I supervise 8 attorneys. We take in approximately half to a little over half of the cases in the court and handle the workup of all of those for the judges. Personally, I have a full caseload along with my supervisory role. I know that it's hard to rectify my position sometimes with people outside of the court because they're in private practice or have practiced in a different manner than I have, but I feel that I'm equally qualified, if not more so in a certain way, in the fact that I've always had to be impartial and not taking an advocate's role. I've already been active in the role of a judicial person of the court. And so in my case, I feel that every case is as important as the next case. So down to the criminal defendant who's filing post-conviction, to the civil cases that come before the court that have a lot of money involved or certain types of issues involved. I feel that I'm able to place every case in its position as being as important as the next. I understand how to balance a docket in this court and how to get cases out efficiently, effectively, and to reach the right conclusion. It's always been my goal as an attorney for the state to have a very impartial attitude as far as, Lady Justice is blind, and I've had that position for the last 20 years in the role with the judiciary where objectivity is so important and impartiality. And so I think that's where I would take it with regards to my position with the court.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions on your, I'm looking at your application here. Question 18A goes into the schools you went to,
Right.
colleges, law schools attended, asks for class standing, date of attendance, and degree. I see class standing, you don't put anything in
Yeah,
there.
I don't even know what it is anymore. It was so long ago.
Yeah, there has to be some, you have to have some idea where you were.
I had a B average, just a B average, and the class that I was in was large. I was at a major university, so I really don't anymore. I mean, I think my experience so overrides anything from school, and I was a teacher at the time when I was going to school as well. So I don't think anything that I did at school, whether I was in the top of my class or the middle of my class, would make a difference anymore. I know that my work here speaks for itself and that it's highly respected, that I understand the balance between speed and thoroughness and getting it right. So I just personally don't feel that it's important at this time in my life when I'm 54 years old.
And the reason we ask is that they obviously ask that question, people fill it out. And
Right.
so I'm looking to
Right,
fill this
and
out.
I don't even know the answer to it.
Okay, all right.
And I guess because I felt like at this point in my life it's so unimportant that I did not put it in.
Another question for you. I noticed, you've been in front of this commission a couple times?
I think this is my third term.
That's right, I think it's your third, you've been here 2 times previous to that. And you also recently, it looks like in May of 2014, applied for the 7th Circuit
Right.
position as well. Recognizing that they're both different in a lot of ways. I'm trying to get comfortable with what position you're really seeking.
Well, obviously, I've been working in the appellate realm for the last 15 years, which is a longer time than I was with the circuit court level. But I really enjoy being a part of being a public servant to the populace and being a part of the court. So I feel that because I've worked, this is kind of a job that works backwards instead of forward. So they're the forward workers, we're kind of the backward workers, but the work is pretty much similar as far as, you know, what you're trying to attempt to resolve. So I'm applying for both. I enjoyed working at the circuit court, and I really enjoy working here. So I feel like the intellectual level is pretty much the same, other than it's a lot more writing here, which I'm used to doing.
I have to tell you, one sentence you wrote in here, I was pretty intriguing, and hopefully you could expand on it a little bit and get me to understand it. It says, this is page 15, I'm compromising when necessary, and I'm driven by family values to do the right thing. That's the right thing to do. My family has historically been comprised of teachers and farmers from Wisconsin who believe that dedication to making a community healthy is more important than personal or acquired wealth. And these are the characteristics that are cornerstone of a good judge. What does that mean?
In my opinion, a good judge is someone who looks at the whole community and what's good for the whole community, and that being an impartial tribunal, that's a lot of that. For example, I had a case recently, and some people might have thought it was like a case that probably wouldn't be important to the masses because the person who was the defendant in the lower court case had been accused and been convicted of killing a child. By the time it got up here, it was 15 years later, it's past the post-conviction time, and you've got this person where normally some people would just go through it and say, okay, well, this isn't important anymore. But something stuck in me that there was something wrong with the case with regards to the facts, with regards to what was coming in, and I continued to delve into it to find out how we could resolve this by sending it back to the trial court and bringing it to a more solid conclusion as to whether or not this person had committed this crime. So I think in many ways doing the right thing isn't always like the easiest thing, and it's not always the more politically correct thing, or it's not always the thing that's more popular with people, but I've always been very honest, I've always been very forthright, candid, and I don't believe in backing down when I really believe in something, although I do still believe in compromise, and that's kind of the cornerstones of what I believe a judge should be like.
So, following up on that, you have, let's say here, the judge on the Ferguson case, and people arriving out here because they want him convicted of something, and that's what's good for the community.
I don't think that's
Are you gonna go with what's good for the community, or what is,
I don't
what the law
think that,
says?
I would go with what the law says, but that's what I'm saying, do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. What's good for the community isn't necessarily what they think is good for them. So you have to be able to like draw the line between what is actually good for the community and what isn't. And due process, in my opinion, comes before necessarily anything else, is that everybody has their right to their day in court. Everybody has, you know, the right to a thorough review of their cases, but when it comes down to it, it has to come down to what is right in the eyes of the law.
As you know, there's two people from the court who applied.
Right.
This is public knowledge. Could you, this is like great, like school.
Sure.
Could you compare and contrast what your job is compared to Pamela Masters' job?
Okay. Pamela Masters is an administrative ministerial, and so it's not involved in the work product of the judges. So there's no like synthesis of cases, there's no analysis of cases. They don't work on cases in the clerk's office. It's very similar to like a distribution system and intake, determining where things go within the court. So it's very much ministerial. The orders that come out are derived either from something that's purely ministerial, where they could actually take on the role of just making a decision like extensions or some sort of thing like that. But when it comes down to anything substantive, it is not authorized to do that. Whereas in my position, I intake the cases before the judges ever see them. I go through all of the analysis, the issues, the case law, put together a comprehensive memo, give them a recommendation of a disposition, and that's on a daily basis. And I personally do over 1,000 cases a year.
So is it fair to say she provides the procedural legal issues support, and you provide the substantive?
Yeah, it's more,
Is that a
hers
fair
is more
statement?
like what happens with the cases from the standpoint of who they go to in the court, intake from the outside, that type of thing, whereas I do all the
So
substantive.
for instance, late filing of a brief, who's in charge of it?
Well, actually, sometimes she can't even do that. She has to send it to my office, who then says, you know, okay, go ahead and give them an extension, or go ahead and take it. And then I send a task to her that says, go ahead and take it, and then she issues an order.
Thank you for the clarification, because we should have done that last time.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because we're very insular here,
Mhm.
so there's not a lot of outside people coming in, and I don't think a lot of people know the functionings of this court, and I know people who don't even know that this court exists. And they ask where I work, and they have no idea it's here, unless you say it's across from Stavros. Then they know. Or the yacht club,
We
yeah.
go up there.
Or the Crooks den across the street.
So all 4,000 cases come to you?
So, no, half the cases of the court, so it's approximately 2,500. It's
Okay.
increased like significantly over the last 3 years since I've been in this position. And I don't know if our increase in, we've been trying to figure out why our increase in case filings, but we've probably doubled in post-conviction. But here's something that I've done, taken the reins for in this court, is that we were seeing huge backlogs of post-conviction cases in the circuit court where they're coming up here, the defendants are coming up here, usually pro se, and they're filing petitions for writ of mandamus. And they're trying to get the trial court to rule on their post-conviction motions. Some of them are 2 years old in the trial court, some of them 3 years old. We've had up to 4 to 6 year old cases in the trial court. Well, it kind of bothered me as to how we were going to get them to move on these cases. And because I'm general counsel for this court as well, so anytime a mandamus is filed in the Supreme Court, I have to answer it when it pertains to us. So the Supreme Court requires us to go ahead and respond as well as the Attorney General or the state. But our court and the other DCAs have only always required the Attorney General's office to respond. And I found that troublesome because the Attorney General has no control over how and when they're going to rule. So, you know, I propose that we go ahead and handle it like they do at the Supreme Court, even though the other DCAs don't do that, and to order the trial court to respond as well. Since then, we've gotten this huge influx of appeals because the trial courts are working much harder, they're managing their case log better, and I think that we will eventually see that they do not have a backlog in 3850. So I feel like I'm very pragmatic with trying to find solutions to problems that exist within the system in order to make things more efficient with cases.
Any other
Does anybody
questions?
have any other questions? Okay.
You get to go.
You have 2 minutes to close.
Oh, well.
We're just getting started.
No, I know, now you get to talk. Well, you know, as I've said, probably last, I guess this is my 3rd time, I feel that because of my unique position with the courts over the last 20 years, that I'm in an excellent position to dispense the law with impartiality, following the law. I mean, my job has been such a technical job for the last 20 years as far as finding the right answer to every question and looking at the law in the purest sense and synthesizing it so that we come to the right conclusion and follow the law, that I think that this is a natural progression for me. And I get along with all the judges, they respect me, and you know, I just think that it's a great fit. And I would only have to move like upstairs. So, but I thank you for interviewing me, and I really enjoyed meeting you. The 3rd time is a charm, right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.